This is GamesAtWork.biz, your weekly podcast about gaming, technology, and play. Your hosts are Michael Martin, Andy Piper, and Michael Rowe. The thoughts and opinions on this podcast are those of the hosts and guests alone and are not the opinions of any organization which they have been, are, or may be affiliated with. This is episode 525, See Thru Wooden Pixels. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. It's Friday. I'm Michael Rowe, and I'm here talking tech and having fun with my friend and co-host, Michael Martin. Michael, how are you?
Hey, Michael, doing great, although we're missing Andy this week. So this is a very strange show to have two Michaels and no Andy. How does that work out?
You know, we almost had a replacement Brit, but that didn't work out.
Well, there could be no replacement for Andy. That's just how that works. Well, Andy would be sad to know that we're going to start off this week's show with something that he would have loved to talk about, and that is manufacturing with Lego. He would have loved this.
Yes.
This Tech Explorer article came from one of the two of you, from Mike Elgin, that talks about Brick GPT. And I was certain somewhere or another we had something like this before about a large language model built on Lego. Maybe it was Lego LLM. I have to continue to look for this.
It could have been that. And they do talk about they're leveraging another tool, right? They're using stable text to brick. Researchers generate stable text to brick is what they create coming into the Brick GPT. So, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know.
Anyway, well, we'll see if we can find it.
It does sound so familiar, which is why as soon as I saw it from Mike Elgin, I was like, we've got to talk about this. It hits like so many of our hot buttons right now. You know, Lego.
3D printing.
AI, robots, printing, the works. So, It would be ideal, and I was actually surprised. I watched the video that they had attached to it, and the example that they made was like the worst Lego thing I've ever seen built. Right? It was just almost like it was one brick wide and like 10 bricks tall. So, not very exciting build, but the fact that they're able to have the models be generated using this LLM that knows how bricks work, and then that they had robots that were precise and both strong and gentle enough at the same time, right? Yeah. Because if you press too hard, especially the way they were building it, you could knock over the build because it's like a tower.
Right.
And if you don't press hard enough, then they won't stick. So,
well, you might remember too the Brickit app that we've talked about before as well, and that was kind of cool because what you could do with that app is you took a picture of your pile of Lego bricks, and it said, what can you build with it, right? So the idea of saying, well, I want to build a double-decker couch. Okay, cool. So how might you do that, and what would you include in that, and how might you now combine that with the bricks you already have, and maybe the bricks you need, and you could 3D print the ones that are missing, right? So you can do all kinds of good fun stuff with this.
Yes. Yeah, very cool.
So neat. So there was another one, because Mike here, not that we're biased towards people named Mike or Michael, but he had another post as well on Mastodon dealing with an article on Perplexity, looking to solve Google's problem by taking Chrome off their hands.
So this one's a lot deeper than it may first imply, and I was actually during my walk earlier this week, I was listening to Steve Gibson because there was another report that came out last week that Perplexity was caught by level 3 doing everything possible to get around the robots.txt file.
Yeah, exactly.
From sites saying you should not scrape my site.
Including going to say, I am not a robot. And
Well,
and clicking through the
it was even more than that, and it was really interesting because this was on Security Now, and Steve Gibson is the key brain behind it, and Leo Laporte is kind of the host, and as host, he's a big fan of Perplexity. And I am too. I mean, what I've used from it, it's actually really good. Perplexity is I'll call it an LLM aggregator that will allow you to use many different models for prompting, and it's actually really good. And the experience that I had with it was pretty good getting around things like website capabilities that are intuitively designed to stop you from scraping them.
Right.
So I was working at a startup earlier in the year, and we had a tool, and our backend was using an API called Scraping Bee that allows you to scrape content from a website for the usage of including in other APIs. Let's put it that way. And we found it was less than reliable, mainly for all the right reasons, right? Sites don't want to be scraped, and they were saying, don't scrape me. And you're an AI, you're an API, and you're supposed to be at a server level adhering to the rules of the site you're going to. And so a lot of times, some of the tools that people were using us for were to give me a list of potential customers by looking at relationships on LinkedIn, as an example.
Sure.
And Scraping Bee was failing miserably, or it would only give you 5 rows of data, which is not a good way of doing a lot of deep analysis. And so we would run some tests and say, well, what if I put this exact same prompt into Perplexity? And Perplexity would come back with 105 rows of data. So it's whoa, that's pretty good. And so from that perspective, Perplexity was really, really good.
Do you remember how it was doing that and what the difference was there? I mean,
well, so that was the interesting part of the discussion last week from Steve Gibson. Okay, so I'll call it the polite agreement amongst the internet is if you have a file in the root of the directory on your server called robot.texts, you can say which parts of your site can be crawled and which parts of your site cannot be crawled. Basically saying the tacit agreement of the web is search engines provide value to me as a website hoster or creator, and so I'm going to give you some value to web crawlers. Do you remember Web Crawler? The actual search engine called Web Crawler, right?
Long time ago, yeah.
Google, Alta Vista, all those guys, right? And they would then present that data to a user who, to get the details, would click through to come to your site, and your ads that you're hosting in your site pay for all of it, right? That's how the internet works for the most part. Then there was some abuse going on, so a lot of people started putting up paywalls, right? And so you can't get to the content without going through the paywall. Well, what it appears to be is that Perplexity, according to the analysis done by L3, with Level 3, which is a hosting provider, they do DNS services, etc. The Perplexity tool would hit the site correctly and basically say, hey, I'm Perplexity, I'm an API, I'm looking for this data on the site. And the site would say, no, you're a robot, I'm robots.txt, please don't scrape me for that reasons. Or, and this is where it got dirty, the customers who were using Level 3 were going in and saying, I'm putting rules in place on my server to actually look at the header on the transaction to say, you're a bot, you're Perplexity, you are not allowed to hit my site. I will drop the message, I'll ignore it, etc. And so what was happening was, as soon as that came in, Perplexity then would start coming from lots of different IP addresses and changing their header from being Perplexity to I'm Safari on Mac, or I'm just a Chrome browser, and saying it was a web browser, not an agent, not an API, in order to get around the rules. So why would you do that? Well, the value is, as an LLM or an AI provider, the more data you have, the better your answers are. And since most people nowadays who look at the answers coming from LLMs don't then click through the sources to actually go to the content, you are cutting the value out from the people who create the content and create the websites. And you're taking away their ability to stop you from getting to their data by ignoring robots.txt and basically trying to get around any blocks they put in place. So with that as the background, guess what? Perplexity wants to be a browser. Hence the offer to buy Google Chrome.
I see what you're saying. Because then they can say, I'm legitimately the browser.
I'm just a browser. And browsers, you want browsers to hit your website.
Yeah. I don't know. That seems tissue paper thin, really, when you think about it.
I think if the value of the company is providing answers and the answers are dependent on easy to cheap access to data, and that data is trying to be stopped, then they can solve two problems. One, they can buy a browser, which according to the latest agreement with, or not an agreement, the latest ruling on the illegal monopoly says we may want you to cut off your browser and sell it off, solves a problem for them by saying, here's a browser. It's the number one browser in the world right now. The engine is used in other browsers. And so then you get the browser and you add your AI into it, problem solved.
Huh.
Because the price that they're offering is almost double the valuation of what Chrome is worth. Why would you do that?
I don't know. I struggled with it on a lot of levels too, because you could leverage open source browsers, and there's plenty of those. And
well, they've already released their own browser. Yeah. Perplexity has. So
yeah, other than, now we're kind of going all the way back to the whole Internet Explorer kind of thing, that the install base is so large and people aren't going to bother to make a change. You're buying eyeballs because it's already deployed, right? That would be where the value is, and then you could gum up everything else.
I'm a big anti-fan of Chrome. I do not like Chrome at all, even though it's number one. And in my new role, I have to use Chrome.
Yeah, so, that's got to be rough.
I'm using all Google products all the way around. It's really rough. So I thought this was a really interesting story from an AI perspective, because the value to Perplexity is access to the data.
Yeah, and I think it's the install base too. Like you're just saying that if it's the number one browser and it's installed in so many other places, making a bid that's 2x the valuation could be smart money, because now you're so penetrated that you can build additional AI services around it, or you can capture data coming and going, right? You can say, hey, I want to continue to feed my AI large language model, and I'm offering you this browser with all these incredible features and capabilities. Just let me kind of take a little peek as things are going back and forth. Which that could be interesting too, for how people will begin to operate. So taking a peek at things, we were talking a little bit about this in the pre-show here too, about the blood oxygen feature that is in Apple Watch, and
yes,
this was a story already a while ago. And there were a number of different potential outcomes here about removing function from existing devices in the field, kind of going back a little bit to the whole George Orwell 1984, changes to the book you've already bought kind of, notions. And now the reinstatement, now that the patent lawsuits look to have been concluded. And I can't remember whether or not on my Apple Watch, if I had lost this or not lost it. I don't think I did.
So it was disabled on my Ultra 2 last year. So the Ultra 2 had the same capabilities as the Ultra 1. The Ultra 1 had the blood oxygen sensor on it.
Yeah.
And so it was disabled due to the lawsuit. And what Apple has done yesterday, as we record on Friday. This was released on Thursday.
Yes.
August 14th, is they have gotten around the agreement. So I'm not exactly sure all the details that caused the patent fight between Massimo and Apple on the blood oxygen feature, but the net of it was that the blood oxygen feature and app on the watch was disabled. What it appears to have been is the app was disabled because with this release of iOS 18.6.1, I think it is, you can now get blood oxygen data in the Health app on iOS.
Oh, interesting.
For the devices that were in dispute, which evidently were the 10, the 11, and the Ultra 2. It was really weird because when I looked at it, my gut reaction when I first saw Series 9, Series 10, and Ultra 2. My initial reaction was it's a little bit disingenuous because the Ultra 1 is effectively the same watch as the Ultra 2, except in color. Right? And so the fact that they enabled it on the Ultra 2 and they didn't call out the Ultra 1 was a little bit disingenuous. However, I did look in my Ultra 1 and the app is working on that device. It does not work on the Ultra 2.
So
on the phone itself, not on iOS.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm not seeing it as its own app, on mine, and I know I'm up to date on all my patches and the like. But again, that sounds like it was just yesterday.
On your watch,
the Ultra watch, yeah.
Yeah, on the Ultra 2 watch, there is the blood oxygen app. It's there, but when you try to launch it, it says the blood oxygen app is no longer available. Learn more in the Health app on your phone. And then if you go to the phone, you have to go into the Health app and you go into respiratory, and then within there you'll see your values.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of this kind of stuff. I mean, we talked about heated seats in cars. We've talked about a variety of things like this, and here's just one more. Interesting. Let's move along to this Mac Story article about Cassette, this new application here about looking at different ways to consume your video and images on your phone as opposed to just going through your general Photos app. Looks like a VCR, right?
So I've been on the test flight of this for a couple of months now. So I was playing with it, and I chuckled when I saw Andy put this in our show for today of, hey, look at this cool app I've seen. Because I don't tend to talk about things I'm on test flight for until they're public, right? So this is kind of a really neat app because it's a couple of weeks back I talked about long play.
Yes.
Do you remember that? Okay, yeah. So long play has really helped me rediscover some of the records and I say records because I ripped most of these from LPs or long played records into my iOS music library, and I found these albums that I haven't listened to in probably 10, 15 years. And so I've been playing them, and it's like, oh man, I got some good music. So what Cassette does is it kind of does the same thing for your videos, and it presents you with a library of video cassettes based off of the year they were created, based off of metadata in the video, and then you say play that one, and it pops it into the VCR, gives you a display. You can zoom it up to full screen, so you don't have to have the fake TV look. And it's actually kind of cool. I discovered videos I had forgotten I had in my, I hate to ask, but does your Your photos library have more than 10,000 objects in it.
Yeah, I'm sure it does.
More than 15,000.
Oh, I don't know how many, but I'm sure it has more than 10.
Yeah, when I looked at mine's somewhere between 15 and 20,000, right? And so, because you take pictures of everything all the time,
sure.
Right? And I've also scanned in old physical photos as well as things that I only have the negatives of and converted those to pictures and stuff. And yeah, it's kind of cool because I discovered old videos that I had taken back on my Sony. What was it, the Sony Mavica? Mm-hmm. The camera that had the 3.5-inch floppy disk in it.
Yeah,
which was awesome. What a cool design, what a cool approach, and similar to long play, what a great way to rediscover some stuff that you have in your content libraries.
Yeah. Did you notice in the article that the sample views of this had 2 North Carolina and 1 England, London, England locations?
I did not, except it doesn't surprise me because John Voorhees, the author of this article, is based in North Carolina.
Yeah, right. So,
and I know he works with Federico Vitici and the other guys over on one of the podcasts that I listen to. Federici's in Italy, but they tend to do a lot of stuff in London because one of the guys is in England.
Yeah. So I just thought that was kind of funny that 2 North Carolina, 1 UK. Wonder where else you have something like that.
I did not notice that. It's not something that I focused on.
Well, did you focus on the see-through Game Boy and the amount of work that, who is it? Natalie the Nerd, apparently, who spent all this time and energy creating transparent circuit boards in order to have a fully transparent all the way through Game Boy?
Yeah, I thought this was really cool, and as soon as I read the article, I knew that you and Andy would like it. I never had a Game Boy.
Oh, you're missing out.
So, but I had thought I remembered that both you and Andy did. Yep. So the nostalgia factor is high with this one. The video games themselves are interesting and cool, but the fact that it's completely see-through, I thought was just fascinating. I mean, it's not. It's funny because it's not like there's much to see on the inside once you've seen it. There's one blinking light, I think, on the top left. I guess it's the power button.
Yeah, and it doesn't blink; it just stays on the whole time. But yeah,
well, if it blinks, you have problems, right?
Well, or low battery, maybe. I don't really remember.
But no, I thought this was just. What a cool example of makers creating something that would resonate with a lot of people. So,
yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, I love it. So to kind of round things out, speaking of makers making things that resonate, we've talked about, plotting things. We've talked about some Lego building things, and you and I both thought we talked about this same concept a while ago.
I know we talked about this guy because the example of the balls that's shown in the article, I know we talked about that one in detail.
Yeah.
So it's pixel art, really cool. Matter of fact, I think some of the very first things I ever did on a computer, probably before many of our listeners were alive, was pixel art on green bar paper on an IBM 1430, I think it was, at Berkeley. Many, many years ago. This is just another really, really cool example of taking pixel art into the real world, and I like wooden things, so woodworking and creating this 1,000 square blocks of wood with sides being painted to create a pixel display. Very cool.
And to kind of round it right back to the beginning of our episode today, one of the early iterations dealt with moving those balls around, like you said, Michael, and that was done with a Lego wheel. So there you have it. Legos everywhere. Lego bricks everywhere.
Legos all the way down, just like turtles.
Yes, exactly. All right. Well, that gets us to the end of this week's show. So a little bit of a short one, but
I thought we had one other story that was in the list on Scott Pilgrim's game.
Oh, we did, and we kind of zipped past that, and that's my bad because I thought I had that open in the right order. So yeah, so
I know as a podcast we all enjoyed Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
Yes. So this is a lovely story from Inverse, a love letter almost to the Scott Pilgrim versus the World game. That has so many interesting references, not just to the comic book and not just to the movie, but also to a variety of other games. And this particular story just talks about how well this game has continued to resonate over the years, that it continues to have a great play and user experience to it. And it kind of made me want to go ahead and pick it up for the Nintendo Switch that I have now in my possession, but I haven't done a lot of gaming on it recently, so that will be on my hit parade of things to get as a what do they call it? What was this? Smash 'em up? No, there was a special language they had here for a fighting game that I thought was super delightful. Beat 'em up.
2D beat 'em up.
2D beat 'em up. Yeah.
Yes, and given the pixelated look, I figured it would be something you would be interested in because I know you like the 8-bit pixel. This is what, 16-bit?
Yeah, something like that.
Very cool. Yeah, I enjoyed the movie. It's been a while since I've watched it. I might need to watch it again soon. I don't have a Switch. I can't remember. Did they have it available for anything but the Switch?
No, many other things, as I recall. Lots of other things. And there's a new version, a sequel, that's going to be coming out at some point called Scott Pilgrim EX, which is kind of an interesting piece of this article, too. So if you like the first one the first time, there is an opportunity for a second time here, too.
Yeah, and given the boss battles and everything in the movie, and kind of the whole love letter to gaming, having a game actually come out of it back when it did, and I think this was released in 2015 or something, is great to see. And the fact that they've re-upped it a couple of times and kept it alive is really kind of the crux of the story. So exciting.
Yes. All right, now we're ready to close. So.
Now
we can do that.
We can't miss gaming. I mean, it's gamesatwork.biz.
So drop us a line to let us know what you're looking at, what you're seeing is interesting. We'd be delighted to incorporate it in our next show. And who knows? You never know. We might actually have all three co-hosts together again very soon.
There's rumors to that effect.
Yes. All right. Well, we'll see you next time, everybody. Thanks for joining.
See ya. You've been listening to GamesAtWork.biz, the podcast about gaming, technology, and play. We are part of the Blueberry Podcasting Network, and would like to thank the band Random Encounters for their song, Big Blue. You can follow us at our website at GamesAtWork.biz.